Hello, world. Welcome to another episode of the Drifters Atlas presents Ascension World Building. Zach and Thomas here.
What's up?
Today, we are doing a cleanup day and an exploration of known places day. We do not have a guest today, so hopefully, we don't get too invested in something that we don't know anything about.
No, we could.
Yeah, it's fine.
We we could. One of the other things I want to talk about was, I guess we're before we should go through some of the other stuff. But I do want to talk about the fact that if anybody wants to continue working these things off stream, if there's anything you're thinking about, shoot us a message on here. Shoot us a message on Facebook, whatever, and we can try to work the next time as well.
Oh, that's a good reminder, Thomas. We also, I have an idea of something that we could start doing here on stream that we could put up on Patreon later.
What's that?
Because it's going to tie into Motherload, and I think that's
Nice.
important. We should come up with some of the starting mechanics for some of the subclasses.
Okay.
Um, I think that would be a fun thing to do and kind of take us still world building because we're still it's definitely the flavor is tied to the world, right?
Yep.
But that's definitely something that um, needs to be done and could be fun on stream, and potentially the Patreon people could see pieces of it for some of their rewards. So
Yeah, and we've been slacking on the Patreon.
yeah, well, we haven't been pushing it too hard, so
No, for
maybe
sure.
maybe we should take a little time, right? Maybe here at the beginning, and go through that process a little bit, um, and then I can get it. We can get it finished up offline and up on Patreon later next week.
Nice. Love that.
You down with that?
I am 100% down with that.
Awesome. So, chat, if you're in chat, um, I am going to be pulling up a Google Doc. So stand by. We're going to swap out the Legend Keeper screen for a Google Doc screen. So things go crazy. You know who to blame.
Yeah, it didn't break too bad.
Awesome. And then let's see. You guys get a little preview of my mess of a drive folder, but that's all right. I've got nothing to hide.
Plus, that's what a drive folder is supposed to look like, right?
Yeah.
That's a successful drive folder.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Here we are. Lots of lovely things, and here is the mother load. So, sweet. Here we are. And new player options. Lovely. And then in a secret screen, I'm going to pull up a second copy and uh, get all my subclass building tools out. So, Thomas, what you can see there, I believe, the two that we have
Yes.
ideas for right out the gate are well, actually, we have four because there's some on the next page. We have a Ranger Canary. Not that all of these will necessarily make it to the finished product, but the idea is that we have a Ranger Canary, a Marauder Barbarian, which is a pirate-themed barbarian, an Ancestral Domain Cleric, and a Usurper Warlock.
Yes. I know the cleric was sort of brought up on stream. Some like a cleric of the Fibromer.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes. Let's see. Character options. Subclasses. Here we are. All right. I mean, I'm down with any of these. I think that any of these could be fun to build. I feel like the only one that I feel like should certainly be in Motherload is the Ranger
Canary.
Canary. Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
I agree 100%.
okay. So do we want to start there just because?
Yeah, let's throw some words at that and see what happens.
Okay. So I'll kind of walk Chat and Thomas through how I build a subclass. Um, 'Cause at this point, I think I have about 30 under my belt. Most of them are on the DM's Guild. You're welcome to check them out. Some are in upcoming products that we're excited about. Um,
If you're going to buy anything else from the DM's Guild, you got till the 17th to really support the artists.
that's right. That is right. Speaking of which, you're going to see briefly here some work on a subclass that is not yet released. Let's see if I can make. There we go.
Do you know what page that is in the document?
This
Page number you're on?
page 2.
I skipped right past it.
Name. Blah, blah, blah. So you guys are getting to see the Archaic Prospector, at least some initial text for it. Something that has not yet been released, but it's my template for everything else. So get rid of all that. Get rid of all this. Boop. Boop. Now if you go back and you screenshot, you could read the whole entire class.
Or you could probably pay $1 or $2 for it when it comes out on the DM scale.
Yeah, it's actually going to be part of. Yeah, it's going to be part of the Goblin, the Goblinoid supplement for Eberron. So if you like Eberron, you know now that we have a Goblin supplement in the works.
There's some awesome stuff there with you and Jonathan and Troy.
Yeah, thank you. We love it. Okay, but we are now ready.
Awesome.
So what we know every ranger gets is an expanded spell table. They get an extra spell that kind of helps flavor the class at 3rd, 5th, 9th, and 17th. And these are actually level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5 spells. Then they get one.
Not for Ranger, it wouldn't be. Because
Okay.
can't Ranger only go up to 3rd level?
Let's check.
I've got my fancy player's handbook here. Been through the ringer. Oh, they can get up to 5th level. I lied.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, cool. Yeah. So basically, when you unlock the spell level is when you unlock the spell level for your class is when you get the extra new spell of that level from their spell list. And then you get 1 or 2 other things at 3rd level. You get something at 7th, you get something at 11th, and you get something at 15th. And that's your ranger. So we're looking to build.
Do you need help with the ranger level stuff? Or is that already in there? Is that
No,
right?
it's good.
Oh,
Yep.
you already have that right.
Yep. That's all good to go.
Yeah.
So what I like to do, we know that this class is going to be called the Canary for reasons. Well, you guys know. The reason is that is what you start off with. That is who you start off as being in our first adventure. And
and if you want to check out the first adventure, if you go to the YouTube and the Twitch of Mini Terrain Durain, that's MINITERRAIN domain DOMAIN. They have the VOD for the next 2 months, I think, on Twitch, and then they'll have it as long as YouTube is up on YouTube. That's a game. I think it was game 6. It was day 3, game 1. So if you want to look that up for Jasper's Game Day, you can watch us play the very first adventure.
Awesome. So the thing that I like to do first, because we know a little bit about what this class is going to be flavor-wise, but sometimes it helps in that way, and it definitely helps in the mechanics way, to pick our spells first. So
Gotcha.
for that, I'll tell you what I use, and you'll probably use your player's handbook, which is a good other way to do this. I use D&D Beyond to look through all the spells of a certain level. Um, Obviously, when we build this spell list, it cannot be ranger spells. So no ranger spells
Yes.
can be on it. Um, and we know that this is a canary class, so it's kind of going to be like a scouting class, mainly for underground stuff. So it might have a few spell similarities to Gloomstalker, um, but we want something that makes this class perceptive, light on their feet, and as roguelike as possible with these spells. Sometimes, if you're building a class that um, you're trying to build kind of like another class, like if we were trying to build a paladin esque ranger, then we
Mm-hmm.
would just be pulling up paladin spells and our life would be easy. But for this, we are looking at um, we're looking for rogue flavor, so um, it's a little bit different.
We're also looking for like druidy flavor too at times.
Yes, exactly. Yep, yep. There's
So
some
I'm on the druid list right now, taking a look.
awesome, and I think I'm going to be because of the nature of this beast. Um, I think I'm going to be on Bard for a minute, and we're going to see what spells a Bard gets that maybe others don't.
There, just by looking at the druid spells quick, there is probably a a fight to be made for the third level spell daylight.
Ooh, I think so.
Because I mean, I think that's at least something we should put right down
Yep,
and think about
yep, yep,
because you're going to be underground. The whole point of this sort of subclass is people looking for the fibrum.
yep. I completely agree. Um, I think there's a case to be made for disguise self at first level,
Okay.
because if you're the lead runner and you run
Mm-hmm.
across some sort of ne'er do well, that might not be a bad thing. Um,
What's the one that blends into the stone at first or second level?
oh, merge
The
with stone.
the one we gave Korgs.
Mm-hmm. That could be
Um,
cool. I just wrote down
especially if
identify.
they've been sitting underground.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think we give that to the Korgs.
Yeah, I'm.
I know we
That's a
I knew
third.
we moved some
I
stuff
think that's
around.
yeah, yeah. I think that's a higher level spell. I think that's like third level. But yeah, let's see. Uh, Earth Tremor is at first level.
That's cool.
We don't want to make it 100% underground themed because a canary is really just a forward scout for something, right?
Yes.
Um,
I like
oh,
having though. I like it being underground esque.
here's what it is. I mean, this is the perfect one in my opinion. Expeditious Retreat. Rangers don't
Yes.
get it. Rangers don't get
For
it. It works perfect.
what level is that?
That's first level. So that's going to be our third
Yep.
level, um, third ranger level spell. Boom. Cool. Awesome. And chat, we are not going to build this whole class, but we're going to get a good start on it so you guys can see um, what the feel of this thing is. But we'll probably build this and maybe one or two abilities, and then we'll go from there.
And we'll probably do that. We'll probably hop off from this in about 20, 30 minutes that way because we know we have some other plans for
Yeah,
this stream today.
exactly. So let's see. Now I'm looking at second level spells. Blur isn't a bad option for a way to, get out of trouble quick. Um, you know what? It should be. Nope, that's already a ranger spell. I was going to say Dark Vision is a great spell that would have applied really well here, but
Yes. Yes, and I think we want to stay away from the spells that our Genasi have,
Yeah.
only because we would hate for somebody to make a new character and a new class
Hmm.
and have it doubled up, really doubled up what your exciting thing is about that class.
That's very true. Um, how do we feel about invisibility?
Ooh, like super scouty.
Yeah, right? Again, I feel like that's very much like another thing that I'm thinking about for this class, right? I'm reading The Hobbit to my kids right
I
now.
think about Bilbo walking around in the
Exactly.
cave.
Yeah, like what would come in handy there? And these two spells 100%, right?
Hmm.
So I feel like invisibility is a no-brainer. So now we're at third level, and this is where you had maybe meld with stone, or what was the other one that or daylight?
Daylight is
Mm-hmm.
that I was really thinking because you're going to be. I mean, they have dark vision on their spell list, but
Yeah.
if you really wanted to light up a cave and search or anything,
Yes. Yes. I think that's really interesting.
I'm not stuck on it. But I think that that is definitely something that we could lure in.
Mm-hmm. Gaseous form is kind of interesting as well, right? But I think I like daylight better.
We don't want it so like just run and hidey. What
Mm-hmm.
I was thinking is like, so he comes in, he does all the forward scouting, and then he falls back to the back of the party,
Yeah.
does his ranger thing, shoots with a bow,
Mm-hmm.
and then when everyone goes and he's doing his wisdom checks, his perception, everything, when people are moving through that part of the tunnel, he can cast daylight and light up the entire tunnel basically.
Right.
And so you're sort of front back, front back, front back move for the scout.
You know what? Oh my gosh. No, it's already a ranger spell. Good. Okay. I was gonna say non-detection would be perfect. Um,
What level is that?
non-detection where you can't be
Mm-hmm.
detected anyway by divination magic. I'm like, that's definitely like a at this point, Thomas, I am down. I'm just double checking here, but I don't see anything. So I'm down with daylight.
Okay.
And you're 100% sure that is not a ranger spell already.
Yeah, there's no way it's a ranger spell. Oh,
Okay.
but it is a ranger spell.
It is a ranger spell? Okay.
I'm like, that doesn't make any sense as a ranger. Oh, it's a ranger spell.
Okay. Okay. No big deal. But we'll keep looking then. Um, and also, the
So,
other thing that we need to keep in mind is that these spells need to be from basically from the player's handbook because we
yeah.
need to make sure that these spells are legal for us to use, and some of the ones from other resources are not. So,
That's
let's.
weird. So they're not in SRD if they are
That's right.
there, or they might not be in SRD if they're from somewhere else.
They are 100% not, I believe,
Oh,
because
so they're all not.
yeah, if anything from Xanathar's is not usable,
Wow,
unfortunately.
good to know.
Yep. Because basically SRD is enough to where you can play the game for free,
Hmm.
and that's kind of their goal with it, right? To where you understand the mechanics, you understand um, how it's supposed to work, but they don't feel the need to make a lot of it. I'm looking at Earthbind. Actually, I think that is second level, so never mind. So now I'm back to gaseous form, honestly.
Okay. Um,
And again, I'm flexible there, but that's the only one that's staying with me so far.
yeah. I mean, unless you wanted to do something like clairvoyance or something, so they could look up ahead.
Clairvoyance is cool. Let's pull that up here. Um,
What we're supposed to do is just give the ranger fireball, right?
yeah, exactly.
No real reason, but
Yeah, I like clairvoyance. Clairvoyance is better. let's do
What
that.
is? Well, can you just read out clairvoyance
Yep.
to me?
You create an invisible sensor within range in a location familiar to you, a place you have visited or seen before, or in an obvious location that is unfamiliar to you, such as behind a door, around a corner, or in a grove of trees. The sensor remains in place for the duration, and it can't be attacked or otherwise interacted with. When you cast a spell, you choose seeing or hearing. You can use the chosen sense through the sensor as if you were in the space. As your action, you can switch between seeing and hearing. A creature that can see the sensor sees a luminous, intangible orb about the size of your fist. I'm fine with that for a canary.
Yeah, it's not super powerful, but it makes sense with the whole scouting
Yeah,
idea.
perfect. Okay.
Because the other stuff doesn't seem as cool, like water breathing and.
Yeah, I don't think like that. That's too specific for what we're after. So we've only got 2 left, chat, and as you know, there's fewer and fewer spells as we get at higher and higher levels. So this is gonna be real quick work. So let's see.
4th level.
I'm already seeing Arcane Eye, which is basically clairvoyance, except you can move it.
Hallucinatory terrain would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Locate creature would be something.
Yes. Let me. Greater invisibility is also here.
Yeah, it seems like a cop out to give them greater invisibility. I understand that it's different. I really do, but it just seems like, oh, I only get these 5 extra spells. It stinks that one of them happens to be pretty much the same as the other.
Makes the other. Yeah. Locate creature is already a ranger spell, so we can't do that one.
Gotcha.
Um, you could do Faithful Hound.
Where's that?
Look under Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound for you.
Is that a?
It's a wizard
Just trying to
spell.
figure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Stone
So it
Shape.
gives them like a familiar.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know they
Is that
already.
what it does? Was that what?
Yeah, it basically gives
Is that
them a
what
spectral
Mordecai
hound.
is?
Yeah, it gives them a spectral hound familiar. Yeah.
Can it attack or anything?
Let me flip back to it real quick.
No. Oh, yeah. At the start of each of your turns, the hound attempts to bite one creature within 5 feet if it's hostile to you. The hound's attack bonus is equal to your spellcasting ability modifier plus your proficiency bonus. On a hit, it does 4 piercing damage.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I feel like that one could be fun just because the idea of the canary is that you're by yourself, or at least largely by yourself. So this
It
kind of
lasts for
helps.
1 hour or 8 hours too.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not like if they wanted to, you could put this. You could do this and quest all day with this hound and then stop.
Yes.
I like Faithful Hound. It's sort of cool.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that then. Let's do that. That's a different piece of flavor.
I've never seen anybody use that. I've been playing now. You might want to put Mordekainen's Faithful Hound.
Well, the SRD version is just called Faithful Hound.
Gotcha.
Yep. It's
Gotcha.
So if you look it up in a good example of this is if you look it up on D&D Beyond, there's going to be a listing for Faithful Hound and Mordenkainen's Faithful Hound. Because you can't use
same spell.
It's the same spell. It's just that you can't use proper names in the SRD. So that's the difference.
Gotcha.
So let's do our last one, and then let's move on to maybe 1 or 2 of the abilities so that we get the true flavor of the class down, and then we'll be good to go. Okay. Let's see. And we probably want to go back to something that's very much within the purveyance of this class. Dawn is an option. A true option.
is Dawn.
Nope, Dawn is a Xanathar spell. Never mind. Ignore me.
Gotcha.
You know what? Yeah. Yeah.
So we have expeditious retreat, which will let him or let them move fast. Invisibility, so they can scout ahead. Clairvoyance, so they can scout ahead when they don't know what's next. Faithful Hound, because if they are by themselves, it helps to have another attacker. And whatever this big thing is.
Okay, I have two propositions for 5th level.
Okay.
I have Mislead, which is where you go invisible and there's an illusory duplicate of yourself that appears, and it moves around. So that's a deception based one. And then Pass Wall is where you create an opening in stone or wood or something. Wood, plaster, or stone, and it lasts for an hour.
And then what does the opening take you through? Just to like the other side?
Yeah, yeah.
That's it's cool, but it's not like the problem is that like if these are actual canaries, most of these. I mean, I understand that your player character isn't going to, but if these are actual canaries, there's not going to be all that many times that the tunnels are so close that you could use that probably.
Probably not, but it would allow. Yeah, it's. Remember, at 5th level, we have basically no spells at this point, right? Like as far as like to choose from. I'm looking at Bard, Wizard, and Sorcerer right now, and
Okay.
and
I'll read out the 5th level druid ones.
perfect.
Anti-life shell, commune with nature, conjure elemental, contagion, geese, greater resto, insect plague, mass cure wounds, planner binding, reincarnate, scrying, tree stride, or wall of stone.
What's True Stride?
Tree.
Tree Stride. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. None of those jump out to me. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
they already have rangers already have tree stride too, which
Yeah.
would be the only one that
Yeah.
sort of makes sense to me.
I feel like so I'm scrolling back through here, and the only ones that I can see in all of these that make sense at all. And again, it's mainly because we're limited, and so sometimes we have to pick things that aren't perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but they work. The two that work for me are um, Mislead and Passwell.
I think
Mislead.
mislead is probably
Mislead. I'm fine with mislead. I'm fine with mislead. So the difference, right, chat? What we're saying about this class with mislead is that this is the canaries have skills that not just help them maneuver through terrain, but also to maneuver through enemies. So I like this. So this to me definitely tells us something about this class from these spells, right? Expeditious
mm-hmm.
Retreat and Invisibility and Mislead all tell us that they are they are not wanting to be up close to anything, and they're wanting to avoid confrontation, right?
Oh, that's our
Clairvoyance,
true ranger anyway.
exactly. Clairvoyance tells us that they are interested in looking ahead, and Faithful Hound says that to me that they need somebody next to them. Now, here's the one thing. Obviously, a lot of these mislead and invisibility are um, concentration based, so you can't use them all at the same time. But you probably wouldn't want to anyways, because mislead does invisibility. So that's the other thing to
Mm-hmm.
keep in mind. We want to think about is that we don't want to give them a whole bunch of concentration based spells and have it so that they can only use one of these at a time. But we haven't done that,
Mm-hmm.
so we're good. Okay.
Just a quick question.
Mm-hmm.
It's starting at 3rd level instead of 2nd level because that's when you pick your subclass for ranger, correct?
Um, yes, it's starting at 3rd level. Yep.
Yeah, but I mean they get 1st level spells at 2nd level.
Oh.
But they don't take their. Hold on, let me. I'm trying to see when they take their subclass.
Let me see here. So
Third level.
third level. So that's why they get it at third. Yep.
Okay, that's
Yep.
what I thought. I thought that's why it was working instead of. I
Yep.
just wanted to make sure that we were both on the same page while I was looking at it.
Yep. And here's what's crazy, chat. So we picked these not looking at anything. So the canary spells are Expeditious Retreat, Invisibility, Clairvoyance, Faithful Hound, and Mislead. The Gloomstalker, which is going to be our closest one, is Disguise Self, Rope Trick, Fear, Greater Invisibility, and Seeming. So not altogether dissimilar, but nothing that's the same.
Yeah, that's good.
So perfect. We could not have done better. So pat yourself on the back. Um,
We gotta start making up the spells, and then we don't have to worry about it.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, making up spells is a challenge.
See, I like making up spells. That's for me getting all my ideas for. I'm so used to running homebrew adventures for my players, but getting all my ideas down on in a playable format is tough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So spells are tricky because they're you have to balance them against every other spell in existence. Um, that's the challenge, and there's so many spells. And make sure that you're not stepping on any spells' toes and all that.
Yeah, it's one thing when you're playing it with your friends, and it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
Right, and they're gonna forgive you if you need to change it later on or whatever.
If you need to make it more powerful or not, or
Yep, yep. Tyler's playing a linguist class that has some of its own spells in our game on Monday, and we're gonna see because he has some cool spells there, and we're gonna see if those spells survive long-term play or not.
I will tell you what though, guys. If you're in chat right now and you're watching us, tune in Monday. We're debuting some character art and things like that. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Yes. Okay. All right. So we've done this. So now let's just do one or two. Because we've been streaming now for wow about 30 minutes. Okay. So let's just do one of these, and then we'll move on to something else.
Awesome.
So let's design a third level ability for this ranger.
Because I think that I mean I don't know if you and I are on the same page with this, but I think that we probably have two of these subclasses in the mother lode.
2 to 3. Yeah, absolutely.
Because if we put two in each, that gives us our four subclasses that we have sort of waiting.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The subclasses will somewhat be built around the theme of the adventure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think so that it'll be 2 to 3 per one, and so by the time we do our hardcover, we're already going to have 4 to 6 subclasses ready to go, and then yeah, go from there.
I think that's fair.
Cool. Okay. So let's talk about a third level. So what I like to do at this point is pull up what other subclasses get, and I don't really care what they get. I care about the theme of what they get. Um, so
Okay, so the hunter gets what they call hunter's prey,
mm-hmm,
and you get Colossus Slayer, Giant Killer, or Horde Breaker,
mm-hmm,
and you have to pick one of those. You get again one of the. So Colossus Slayer is your tenacity can wear down the most potent foes. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, that creature takes an extra 1d8 damage if it's below its hit point maximum. You can deal this extra damage only once per turn. Giant Killer, when a larger creature within 5 feet of you hits or misses you with an attack, you can use your reaction to attack that creature immediately. Horde Breaker, once on each of your turns when you make a weapon attack, you can make another attack within the same weapon against a different target within range. And then Beastmaster gets Ranger's Companion, so you can get a pet.
yep. And I'm looking through all the others real quick, and basically what we can determine is that all of them are most of them are getting all but the Gloomstalker are getting something that can deal extra damage. And that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense, right? Because Rangers are not the most damage dealing of class by nature. So giving them a little bit of extra oomph for each hit is important. So a lot of times the extra damage is dependent upon something. So if we look at like the hunter for an example, um, you can have the Colossus Slayer. Um, you can deal an extra D8, but you can only deal it once per turn. Um,
Mhm.
uh, Giant Killer, you can do an extra attack as a reaction against something that is larger. Um, and then the other one, Horde Breaker, is an extra attack with the same weapon if there's a similar creature. So like, there's always like a tie to it, but it's not a difficult tie, right?
No,
It's something that,
those are very loose.
right, exactly. Um, yeah. Slayer's Prey. This is for the Monster Slayer.
Gotcha.
You basically, it's like Hunter's Mark in that way. You designate a creature you can see. The first time you hit that creature with a weapon attack, it takes an extra D8 or a D6 damage. So again, we're thinking about something um, that they can get pretty consistently, but probably has a triggering effect. And I think that's the easiest one to do. So let's start there. So knowing what we know about this class, they are um, they are up at the front of things. They're moving quietly. Um, they
What if it was like an assassination?
like the
The
rogue's
rogue gets,
assassination.
yeah.
So that's a potential certainly. That's a good thought.
Because I was thinking about like as we talked about this class as sort of ranged rogue to begin with.
Okay, so it says so
So they
that's
sneak in and they make a mark and they hit somebody hard and then they leave.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Because assassination reads,
Yeah, you get advantage on an attack against a creature that hasn't acted yet in combat, and you uh, if you hit a surprised creature, it's a critical hit.
yeah,
Um, yeah, the big deal for that for the assassin is that obviously the rogue's damage dice go
mm.
crazy if they're getting critical hits, right? Um, but I like that idea. Um, I also and maybe there's an option for two things here for a third level because we need two third level
Mm.
abilities. I like the idea that um, they can maybe cast a spell if they hit a creature in the first round of combat, so that they
just
could.
make just make expeditious retreat proc if they hit with an attack.
Yeah, I mean, Expeditious Retreat is a bonus action already, so that's not a big of a deal, right? Um, but I like the idea that like they can fire something and then get away, or then do another thing.
Yeah, I love the idea of sneaking up on somebody, doing a crit, and then basically expeditiously retreat without it costing a spell slot.
Yes. So let's see. I'm looking at.
It doesn't take it off of your chart. You still get that as a spell slot if you want to use it as a spell slot, but
Mm-hmm.
since they're not going to do nearly the same amount of damage as you would with your rogue at third level,
Mm-hmm.
you go in or any level that but any level after third, the rogue can do assassinate and do big damage. I mean 60, 70, 80 damage when you get up by level 10. Um, when you're critting with all those dice, you're going to crit with whatever you attack with. So you sneak up and is this a melee or is this just a range?
No, I think it can be anything, because we want them to be able to. Um, okay, so let's take some of the language from that rogue here real quick. So I'm just gonna grab the whole thing, and then we'll back off as needed. Um, I don't like just whole cloth stealing an ability. I'd like to
No.
put our own twist on it, but we can start there. So there's There's our ability. Um, so to me, I'm asking why is the canary attacking to begin
Well,
with, right?
well, the option would be that the canary attacks because they want everyone to follow them back into the group of people.
Potentially, yeah. That's not a bad way of thinking about it.
Or that's how I would use this, right?
Right.
You walk up, you hit with something. If you get that, if we were talking about that expeditious retreat, you then turn and run, and they chase you back into a group of people. And those people are all ready to take out the group.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so there's a lot of bonus actions that rogue or bonus action spells that rogues can do, right? Hunter's Mark, Ensnaring Strike, now Expeditious Retreat. So they're definitely one of these classes that will be casting their bonus action. Will be using their bonus
Mm-hmm.
action to cast a spell of some sort, right? Um, so maybe that is part of the trigger here that we like. The other thing, right, is that we're asking them to not cast Hunter's Mark. So, um,
Because it's concentration? Or why?
yeah, because you can't have Hunter's Mark, and I don't believe you can have Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark is concentration and expeditious retreat. Let's double check that. Um, expeditious retreat is also concentration. So they can have one or
Okay.
the other, right?
Yeah.
Um, but we're letting them have the dash action for free. I mean, expeditious retreat gives them the dash action. So I think what the trade off, right, is um, uh, uh, there's a flavor here that's basically um, um, uh,
Oh, so you have to, yeah, you have to use the bonus action every single turn, basically.
yeah. Well, you don't have to use the bonus action. Yes, 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 yes,
Yes,
yes,
you
yes,
do.
yes, yep, yep. So on your first, um, um, when you cast expeditious retreat, you uh, so the idea being that we want to give them a benefit for playing into this class subclass and
Mm-hmm.
not into the ranger as a whole, right? So you do not burn a spell slot. Um,
You only don't burn a spell slot though if you are doing this as part of like an attack, right? Or are we getting rid
well,
of
yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's the next part. But I'm trying to think about. So invisibility is also a completely reasonable thing that we want them to be able to do later, right? Um,
Yeah, but we can't have the invisibility anywhere into the third. Oh, I see what you're saying. What we don't want to do is step on invisibility's toes in third level.
you know what you do? Okay, let me pose this to you. When you take the dash action on your turn, because right, expeditious retreat
Mm-hmm.
is going to trigger this, right? But so is just running, right? Double moving, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you take the dash action on your turn, you can make an additional attack against an enemy, and it's probably a weapon, additional weapon.
And is it a additional attack or an additional attack action?
I think it's just an additional attack because if they cast Expeditious Retreat, now they can, as a bonus action, just run every time, right? They have a
Yeah.
double move, but now they if they have Expeditious Retreat ongoing, they can Expeditious Retreat bonus action dash as their bonus action. They can move as their regular action. They can still take an attack action, and now they can also just make an additional weapon attack.
Well, you're adept at getting yourself out of trouble. When you take the dash action on your turn, so what I'm thinking that is that when I'm not casting any spell and I take the dash action on my turn, it uses my regular action. You can then make an additional weapon attack. So that means basically I can, since I used my action to dash, I then get to make a weapon attack
Yes.
because I took away my action.
Yes. Now the flip side though is that Expeditious Retreat turns the dash action into a dash bonus action.
But
Um,
it's not. It has nothing to do with dash. It doesn't in the rating for Expeditious Retreat. It doesn't say dash at all. I
yes,
mean, I understand that that's basically what it's doing.
it does. It does. It says
Does it?
this spell allows you to move at an incredible pace. When you cast this spell, and then as a when you cast this spell, and then as a bonus action on each of your turns until the spell ends, you can take the dash action.
I read it wrong. I'm moving back to it now. That makes more sense then. I was reading. I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah. No
I did.
problem. No problem.
I didn't see that it had the dash action there at the end. Yeah. So, yeah. So then, you're gonna get 3 attacks then as a ranger.
Potential. Where's your second attack coming from?
Because at 5th level they get
Extra
a
attack.
secondary attack.
Yeah. So you'd get 3. Yep. Yep.
Um,
But you're not ever getting Hunter's Mark. That's the
and
trade.
you're also wasting your spell slots on those. You're wasting your first level spells when you do that.
Yeah, I mean you don't
It's not.
you can run. The other benefit, right, is that if you're just trying to get away, you're not losing your attack action. You're not forgoing all attacks, right?
Yeah, for sure. No, I like that.
Okay, cool. So what are we gonna name this ability, and then let's cruise on out.
That is a question. Um, just name it Expeditious Retreat.
Yeah. Um,
um,
I mean, we could do like
um, fallback option. Um, I like I like saying like catching the jump on somebody, or I know it needs to be less wordy, but in my opinion, when you use this to so you cast Expeditious Retreat as a bonus action. You take your 2 shots. You then I'm not sure.
new GTFO.
Yes. Can we just name it that?
I wish.
I feel like all kinds of 12-year-old boys would take the GTFO option if we made a class that was just GTFO.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about um what the intent is, like a fighting retreat. Isn't that what they are called sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe uh, so I'm looking at what we could do with that. A fighting withdrawal is what they're called, right? Maybe
Okay.
so maybe I think that's an actual
Fighting withdrawal is what UFC people go through when they're hurt.
yeah. The other thing though is that you can use this to do the opposite, right? Because you could dash action to get up to somebody, and then attack,
Mm-hmm.
right? So isn't necessarily only a withdrawal feature because it's really just letting you get up close or double move and then attack.
Yes.
Um,
And when you say weapon attack, is that just like a melee attack or?
no, the language there is to make sure that you can't do a spell attack, but that you can do a
Gotcha.
ranged weapon or a melee weapon.
Gotcha.
Right. Because if
Yeah, that makes sense.
we just say attack, then people are going to want to argue that they can cast a spell.
Yep. And they'd be right.
What about something where we what about something that we focus kind of on that, like you said, the expeditious? What if we called it swift response?
Nice. I like that. I like that a lot.
Cool. Okay. All right. Well, there we go. And now we know very much. That's a really good start. We should be able to build this subclass very fluidly. And already looking at it, you're like, this could be a rogue, right? Like, this is going to play very similar to a rogue in a lot of ways, right?
It is, but it's also going to. I mean, the trick here is that it gets to do the range thing with very good accuracy, right?
Yeah, and it's got more spells, obviously, than what we've listed here. It's got all the ranger spells. It's got all the ranger class features that are not tied to that. So, favorite enemy, natural explorer, fighting style, all of those things. Um, so, it's definitely going to feel different than a rogue, but it's starting to feel more like a rogue, which is exactly what we want.
I lost you for a second. My headphones went out.
No problem. No problem.
You still there?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Can you hear me? Yeah. Hopefully. Oh, we lost him. We lost
I'm back.
Thomas. Okay, perfect.
My
Lovely.
headphones cut out for some reason. So I wanted to just get it fixed quick. So I hopped the call and came back.
Okay, make sure you turn on your video, but other than that,
Yeah.
we're good.
And I should be done. There we go. Sorry about that, guys.
Perfect. Okay, so sweet. This will move on into being fleshed out later this week, and then up on the Patreon for playtesting, so to speak. So let's jump. We
I think
have
we're also going to have some NPCs on the Patreon here coming soon, right?
yes, hopefully. Yep.
So I know that's our goal.
Yep. All right, so what I'm going to do now is go back to Legend Keeper. And now we can discuss something for about 30 minutes and get a feel for something else in this world. How do you feel about, we kind of talked about it a little bit, how do you feel about talking about this Korg settlement?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So we know nothing about it other than that it is tied to Slab's deceit and the lighthouse.
So we talked about at a later point is that we talked about Korgs who wanted to start their own situation in the mountains, basically.
Right.
Leaving the pirate city of Slab's Deceit, and basically telling them that they don't need them, and moving and wanting to colonize the side of the crater.
Yeah.
We talked about this being sort of like a rundown camp.
Yes. Yes. It's I'm gonna botch my American history here, but there was a failed colony early on in American history. Let's see, was it like Roanoke or something like that?
I have no clue.
Okay.
Roanoke is like would make sense because it's like the Virginia in the area there.
Yeah. So there was a colony, and I'm going to botch this, but what matters is the inspiration, I guess, even if the inspiration is false. But there was a colony that tried to settle in America early on, and they basically arrived right at the beginning of winter, and they didn't have a lot of food supplies, and they basically just starved for an entire winter, and like a ton of them died. Um, and I'm saying like it's just a miserable experience. And to me, trying to colonize the eggshell peaks and the crater is that
Hmm.
sort of a experience, right?
Yes.
It's not going to be pleasant, especially where they're trying to colonize it, which is different than where our gnomes are trying to dig in the north here,
Hmm.
because they've got access to supplies, they've got the forest right behind them,
They're close to filigree.
they're close to filigree, they're much better. This is isolated, alone, and in the thick of nastiness right from the start, right?
And my guess is that it wasn't the Roanoke colony because that's the most popular colony that started with John Smith and things.
Okay, so
So
yeah,
it's
uh,
okay. It's a Saturday afternoon, and some of us are still having coffee.
yeah, exactly. Here, that's me. Um,
Me too. My wife just dropped off in the middle of the stream
oh, nice.
Starbucks. So, oh, I can't say Starbucks on stream. That company that has the green coffee logo.
Yes, yes.
But
So anyhow, um, cool. Well,
this
let's
chair is the worst. But yeah, so we have this failed colony.
yeah, yeah. So, it's in the process of failing. That's the best way to put it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's Earth Genasi. They're here, and what we know. So I'm gonna, if it's all right with you, I'm gonna let you take the notes, I guess, and I'm gonna just start
Yep.
coloring a little bit. But what we know is that um, David gave us a really great word a couple weeks ago called glass jaws. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, that could be something that these guys really struggle with are these glass jaw creatures that are kind of zombie like.
Okay.
And that kind of allows us to play in that flavor a little bit. Um,
So they're being attacked by glass jaws, basically.
yeah, I think that could be fun. Like part of the reason that they're failing is that, like, yeah, they're kind of sailed right into the heart of things, where the creatures are their weirdest,
Mm-hmm.
and like in my mind, there's some fun stuff that could happen there. And there's probably a small map that I actually need to make, but I was gonna see if there's any coloring that needed to happen there or whatnot to kind of dress up the map or make it stand out a little bit. But
Yeah, for sure.
to, so questions that I have are like, how many um, Korgs are here right now? How big is the colony? What does it look like? That sort of thing.
So would you say 40 to 50?
I feel like that's reasonable.
It's not so much that they're prosperous, but it's enough that they're not. It's not just one guy and two.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Do we have a name for this? Is this something we talked about it being Slab's deceit over here? Is this Slab's promise or something? I know we talked about that in the past.
It could be. Yeah, yeah. Um, I think we hadn't settled on it, but that was definitely our idea. Do we like that idea?
I like the idea of it. As soon as somebody sees a map, realizes that there's something going on here between the two places.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be Slab's promise, but I would like it to be something that makes sense long term, like that ties them to this other place.
Mm-hmm. I think part of the reason that slab, like if you're gonna do something that's very simple, you would call it like Slabs Town, right?
Yeah.
Which is not awful. Um,
It's not great.
but it's not great. Yeah.
If I was planning on writing an adventure, I would want it to not want it to be Slabs Town.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's see.
We've already got pickled Pete's all over the place. We don't need Slabs Town.
Yeah. I think I'm fine with Slab's Promise
Okay.
because it's kind of the it has huge aspirations that are so obviously not gonna work out, right? Like that's kind of the idea of Slab's Promise is like the promise was of like, hey, this is gonna be awesome, and it's not awesome.
Yeah. The other thing is that like maybe the deceit was the fact that like everybody started this idea of sort of being on the water, but not really taking to the pirating as much.
Mm-hmm.
And Slab basically threw that out the window, and that was his deceit. And we can work on that a little bit, but to solve that problem, and he brought in some other races to
Mm-hmm.
help him on the water.
Yeah.
And the pure Korgs and the Korg offshoots have all gone to do Korg things in the mountains.
Yeah.
And this is the promise of a better option.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's not. The reality is that
It's not great.
it's not great. Um, yeah. To me, it's like tense, right?
Yeah.
Like it's tense neck, and then they're like trying to explore natural caves, trying to find a way in, sort of a thing.
Yeah, I was thinking like Flintstones homes.
Hmm.
I mean, again, that doesn't probably work. But I mean, if these were Earth elementals, it'd be a different story. But I was thinking like
Oh,
A small town of Flintstone homes.
that's hilarious. Well, they definitely. So that's probably true. Let me back up. They probably are not in. There's probably tents just because they're trying to be next to the shore to some extent, but they probably live in caves. That's probably their preference.
Yeah,
So, so it's not too far off to say Flintstone's home. I know that it's a self-made cave, but
yeah. I think the other option too is to have things like having some of the same attacks that we're having at the end of the mother load.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, my preference would be that we not do the same type of creature so that this could be explored in a different way and have a different experience.
Yeah, but I mean,
But
again, it doesn't have to be the exact same. But I think they're getting weird crap from underground.
yeah, yeah, yes, I think that that's definitely the case. Um, and it's probably like, in my mind at least, these creatures ran into, or these Korg ran into trouble pretty much from day one, as opposed to unearthing trouble. The trouble was there, and they just
Mm-hmm.
walked right into it. um, that would at least be my feeling here, is that it's been a fight from day one. It's like they've barely made any ground. um, that would be the feel that I would have going into this place. But there, if you could make ground, right? There's a big if, right? But if you could make ground here, then Slab's promise would come true, right? In that there's probably tons of unharvested fibrum to be found right here.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like,
And who is better to find that than the people that come from the earth?
yeah, exactly. But it's one of those things where like the biggest risk has the biggest reward, sort of a thing. So the
Mm-hmm.
biggest reward is obviously that there's a lot of fibrum available here. The risk is that there's also a lot of creatures that are this like corrupted fibrum race, Um,
So is there lots of biofibrim here as well?
yeah, I think that like the creatures here that biofibrum um, make like the Gizrats.
Yep.
Um, and I think that the glass jaws are what the humanoid version of the Gizrat is, right?
I thought we were talking the glass jaws were people who like junkies that took too much.
Yeah. See, and I think that that's we there's a it's both because I think that you can become a glass jaw by eating too much of it, and those can happen anywhere. But in the crater, there's like the natural glass jaws.
Okay.
Um, the race that was there when the impact happened, that have like fully turned into a true race at this point of these individuals. Um, and I think that what David said, which I really liked, was that you lose, and I think it makes perfect sense. You lose some of your intelligence, a bulk of your intelligence, when you become a glassjaw. Like it corrupts your mind, it destroys your mind. So these aren't actually zombies, but they could
Mm-hmm.
have aspects like zombies, but they wouldn't be considered undead. Um, um, but super low intelligence, super feral, um, sort of creatures at this point.
Yeah.
And
I was
not
just
to
going back and looking at the notes from when we were talking about all this, and yeah, so glass jaws are like zombies, and maybe they do have specialty attacks and things like that, like zombies, like paralysis and things like that.
hmm Yeah, one of the other things I was thinking about with glass jaws, right, is that glass jaws are basically addicts, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like, again, like it depends on how dark you want to go, but I feel like there is a cannibal idea here because they're addicted to the substance that their bodies are going to start innately forming, like the Gizrats.
But are the natural ones
That's
cannibalistic?
that's what I'm wondering is like how do we want that? It's an option, but it doesn't have to be an option. Um,
Well, here's the thing: is that we want to this channel and this are all everything from the Drifters Atlas wants to be. It doesn't have to be PG,
mhm.
but we want it to be a good mix for everybody.
Yeah,
We want it to be a safe space for anybody who feels like they want to play this.
yeah,
So with cannibalism, you could see that being a touchy subject at places.
yeah. Maybe if it's mentioned, it's fringe mentioned, and it's not a full aspect.
I would hate that a player, if I mean, and drugs is even pushing that too, but I would hate that a player would would take a bunch of drugs um, to get like a cannibalistic sort of skill set, and then all of a sudden you just see this cannibal player who's running around and eating bad guys and things like that, and then all of a sudden people are pretty uncomfortable all the time. It's one thing with the bad guys doing it; it's completely different when you're stuck at the table with David, who is eating every person to.
Why'd you say David?
I just picked a name.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've never met a David. I don't know any Davids. I'm kidding.
Uh-huh. Um, I, yeah, yeah. I have. I'm gonna take some notes here. Perfect. Okay. Um, so Slab's Promise. I think we know a little bit more about it. Um, um, we know we know more about the idea of it. We know where they're living. We know about how many there are. Are there anything other than Korgs here, or are we fairly confident there are only Korgs?
The only reason there'd be anything other than a Korg is that if somebody had um, brought in somebody to try to help make this colony stable.
Mm-hmm.
So you could see them bringing in one person or two people that stand out as NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think that this is a mixed race
Mm-mm.
colony.
No, it's fully not intended to be that, certainly.
Yeah, so at best, I think there's one or two NPCs that are brought in, and I think if you did a adventure in this area, I think that if your players went to Slab's Promise at first, they're sort of like, um, sort of badgered about being there, and that like they're not going to attack them, but this is their place and they don't need any help, and blah 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 blah. And then as soon as you sort of show that you can help, then you are opened with like that same sort of contractor idea, right?
Yeah.
Like you don't belong here, but if you can help us, we'll take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Cool. All right.
And again, it always comes to mind that the person, anytime you're working under a mountain, the idea is to have like a dwarf or somebody who, or I mean, or maybe it's one of the gnomes from the diamond site that has his own piece of equipment that's come down
Mm-hmm.
or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they're not that far if we zoom out a little bit here, chat. If we zoom out, they're not that far from the lake. I mean, it's through the mountains, so it's gonna be a ways.
It's like 75 miles or it's
Yeah.
100 miles maybe max.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what you could see is you could see somebody who came down who was bringing stuff to the Tusk or to Slabs to Sea. They heard about this and they sailed their boat in, offering to help, seeing that they might be able to make more money or something.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So you have one really eccentric gnome or one really sort of gruff dwarf that is in there helping them work with stone or whatever it may be.
Right. Right. Lovely. Cool. I feel like there's a one shot to be had in Slab's Promise. Like not a full on adventure, but like a really fun, crazy one shot that you could play there.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Especially if they were getting overrun by glass jaws or anything like that.
We saw a salamander.
My kid has spotted a salamander,
Nice.
evidently.
When we were looking around, we looked under huge rocks. We saw a salamander and we picked it up.
Awesome.
Nice.
Very cool. Well, hey.
No salamanders would live here in Ohio right now. There's literally snow on the ground.
We were gonna bring it home, but you said there wasn't
Yeah.
one, so we're gonna bring this container.
Get in a container. All right. Yeah, there's no salamanders in Ohio right now. I can believe that, and there shouldn't be any here. Not in this cooler weather we're having. But okay. Well, hey. We've been streaming now for an hour and 15 minutes.
Okay.
Do we want to kind of run down some of the notices for this week and then call it good?
Yeah. Sure.
Okay.
So, do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Go for it.
Gotcha. So we have, again, like always, don't forget to hit it's going to be up on the top right corner, a nice follow here on Twitch. If you're watching this on our VOD, we need to hit a certain amount of follows, and we're going to give some giveaways when we hit 50 follows. Also, if you're not watching it on VOD, if you're just watching it right now live, check out all of the VOD and everything on YouTube. We have every single one of our episodes so far up on YouTube. And then we are going to keep bringing the community together on Facebook. So our Facebook is right now, I think we're at 150 likes or something like that. We're growing every day. We're trying to get, when we hit 1,000 likes, we're going to do some giveaways over there.
Mm-hmm.
So we got some really cool stuff in the works, and I think everything is going great. As I said earlier, we have Dungeon on Monday night, and Dungeon is our live play D&D game set in Zach's homebrew dungeon there. and we have some really cool art and some things coming Monday night that you're going to want to tune in to see.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm trying to think if there's any new releases or new products that I should be hyping. Um, Definitely, I'll just put in a reminder that I think next week there'll be a subclass on the Patreon. So if you want to check that out, that'd be awesome. Um, the Eberron crew just released the Kalistar uh, player options on the DMs Guild for Eberron. So that's called Kalistar Expanded. You can definitely check that out. It's getting some good response. And I think that's it.
We have one more. If you haven't checked it out already, check out Talon and Claw's Etsy.
Oh.
They make dice boxes and DM screens and things out of rare woods.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to play with Anthony from Talon and Claw in Jasper's Game Day this week, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. They're doing some great things this week with some new dice vaults they're bringing out for the Trevor Project.
Mm-hmm.
So they've got some wonderful things up on the page there, and we'll send a link here soon.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and pull it up here so chat can see some of the cool stuff that Talon and Claw does.
Yeah.
So lots of awesome dice boxes, DM screens, all sorts of things. And as you can see, very reasonably priced. And we're really excited about their Kickstarter that's coming up as well. So
yes, that starts on the 15th of May. So next Friday.
Yep,
next Friday.
I believe so. So
I'm sure I will be a backer. So
okay, all
we'll
right.
talk soon.
We'll talk to you later, guys. Thanks for tuning.